Steve Hackett, hello.
Hello, how are you?
Fine, how have you been?
Yeah, very good, thank you.
I've seen you last at High Voltage. What's been going on since?
Well, I've been right around the world since then. I've been to Japan, I've been to... My God, where haven't I been? I've been all over the place. I did, almost 150 shows. It feels like back to back. They're almost all back to back. So I've been doing a lot of gigging, a lot of living out of a suitcase and out of a guitar case, really. So it's been a nomadic life in all sorts of ways.
And do you feel tired, or you still enjoy it?
I still enjoy it very much. Yes, yeah, I do.
Not tired at all? Do you need a bit of a holiday after all this?
It would be nice to have a holiday, wouldn't it? But I know life isn't like that at the moment. I'm too busy to take a holiday.
As a guitar player, you're a recognised pioneer of many styles, like tapping,
Yeah.
to name one. Is music still a journey of discovery for you, or you've done everything and just carry on?
No, I haven't done everything. There are so many forms of music, but it's the spirit that runs through all the forms, I think, that engages me. I still think that I love nylon guitar, I love electric guitar, I like doing both. I like rock music, I like classical music, I love blues. Electric guitars, they've got to be tortured to scream, really. You cannot afford to be too respectful of what they're capable of doing, I find. You have to lay into them, abuse them in a way. And then I think with nylon guitar it's entirely different. You've got to be sensitive to it and just allow it to sigh. I always think it's a case of sort of wooing the nylon guitar. It's like a sensitive creature. It's a very different thing.
You've been lucky enough to have a very good education, but guitar actually is something that you picked up yourself. You didn't have any teaching for it.
No.
Do you think you have to be a natural at music, or you can actually learn talent?
I think maybe you have to be born with the passion for it. You can learn the mechanics, but it takes so much time that unless you loved it, it would seem like very hard work indeed. I don't think I would enjoy mountaineering. I would be thinking, oh, I slipped, I grazed my knee. I'd be thinking 1,000 of those, but a guitarist doesn't think of blisters on the finger. You don't think of the pain that goes into it. It's all part of it. Yeah, beyond those early years, well, the first guitar I had had an unplayable action, and I thought, the harder I worked with it, the better I would get at it. I didn't realise that the instrument was practically unplayable, so I had bleeding fingers for ages with that. And then I discovered nylon guitar, and it felt like silk under the fingers. By comparison, it felt like not really playing. But you come to grips with whatever medium engages you, I think. For the mountaineer, he expects to maybe one day fall off the mountain. It's just part of the price of admission. For guitarists, all we get to do with any luck is to break a string from time to time, so it's arguably more healthy.
Your album has now been out for almost a year.
Yes.
Out of the Time and Mouth. How's it been going? Are you happy with the response?
Very good, very happy with the response. It's had better reviews than anything I've ever done. And it leaves me in a bit of a quandary at times, because I think all artists, guitarists, singers, whatever they are, they do what they do naturally. But whatever it is that makes that quantum leap in the imagination of the audience, it says, this one's really good. This is really what we want to hear you doing. I seem to have arrived at that stage with this album, and that's happened naturally. And I could set up exactly the same conditions around another album, but we couldn't ever be completely sure that it was going to be held in such high esteem in the eyes and ears of the fans.
Are you actually writing or thinking about the next step?
Yes, always, and I get influenced by everything that I hear. I get influenced by early music, early rock music, early music, and I still love the sound of orchestras, particularly when they're low and sonorous, and I'm always thinking, is there a way I can include more of that in what I do, or a texture of that? So I'm probably still trying to make the notes sound bigger in some way or another.
You also worked with a philharmonic in the past, did you?
I did, yeah. I was lucky enough to work with the Royal Philharmonic on a couple of different projects. One of them was some Genesis material that I revisited from an album of the same name, and they were wonderful on that. And I did a thing called, well, it was really a classical guitar version of A Midsummer Night's Dream, pieces that I'd written for guitar, and I was lucky enough to get that orchestra on board with that. And they played wonderfully on it and brought that material to life in such a huge way. They're a really wonderful, rich sounding orchestra, and it's not every project that someone says, here's the keys to the Rolls Royce or the Royal Philharmonic. So when it happens, it's always a very special moment.
Would you like it to happen again?
Oh, I'd love it to happen again, yes. But what I tend to do these days is, if I want orchestral textures, I tend to work with smaller forces and to track them up in a way, and the results are very, I wouldn't even say similar, they're different. In a way, if you record each instrument separately, you can go at it 100 times, but you have got the facility to be able to put it perfectly in time and in tune, if you want, because the technology exists to do so. So, in some ways, you can get it ever more perfect if you've got the patience, of course.
You've been playing with an iconic band in Genesis, and you are an icon of your own for what concerns you playing guitar in your solo career. Are we going to have any more icons nowadays?
Well, I always think I'm still trying to get it right. So the idea of being iconic or legendary or all of those things, when you try to get your fingers around a phrase that you can't play, you realise you're back to square one. Until you've practiced enough, you're not going to get that right. So practicing and writing can be a great leveller. It's just that at my stage of the game, I struggle with different things to the things that I struggled with when I was, when I was a young kid starting out. When I was a young kid, I'd be trying to play Rolling Stones numbers and bending strings for the first time, and then that sort of stuff gets easier when you realise that in order to be able to do certain things, you need the right equipment, and no one tells you, or at least in those days they didn't. And these days, of course, you can go to rock schools, you can go to classical school.
To X Factor?
Sorry?
To X Factor?
Yeah, you can go to X Factor if you want. And there are all these various ways of doing things. Yes, the X Factor approach would be, yes, take a well-known show tune, learn to sing, dance, tap, do whatever it takes, and audition yourself in front of millions. I tend to think that the road less travelled is more preferable, because if suddenly from one moment to the next the general public just decide they're going to vote you off, I think that must be very humiliating for a young performer. Whereas, as I've been in the business for a vast amount of decades, I don't think that any one gig is make or break. It would be nice if it was made up of all the various audiences that you played to, and it was a genuine live performance in front of genuinely enthusiastic people, instead of it being like an ice skating contest where the Russian judge is going to mark you down because he's got an agenda, so he never gives you 5 out of 5. We used to see all this sort of stuff on TV at one time, and now what I'm against is monopolies. I don't think any one person should be dictating the tastes of the public. I kind of miss the days when you used to go out and buy records, and You would go to a shop that sold televisions, wristwatches, washing machines, and there'd be a few cardboard boxes, and you'd rifle through those to find the records of your choice. That was what it was like in the 60s. It was extraordinary. Now, of course, it's different, and there's far more choices, but you still, you know, it's kind of gone full circle. You've got to go to the back of the store and try and find where they're selling the records. You're wading through the video games, you're wading through everything else. So, you know, music in a way once more becomes only part of what the shop is selling. So it's not necessarily a priority to all but the faithful. So I try and cater to the faithful, of course, and people that are still passionate about music and